Go. AODS Orientation. So this is my contact information. It's on the bottom of that brochure that I gave you. The best way really to reach me is via email. I check my email regularly. I check the voicemail when I'm on campus. So my name's Jim Fent. I'm the program coordinator for alcohol and other drug studies. And this is what we're going to be going over, these areas. I'm happy to answer any questions. So first, the biggest, broadest overview. In California, all substance abuse treatment, education, licensing, credentialing, all of that is overseen by DHCS, the Department of Healthcare Services. They contract out with these three organizations to actually do the state testing. We'll talk about these three organizations and their pros and cons later. But I do want you to know that Palomar's coursework, those 11 on that handout, are all meet the requirements for all three of those certifying agencies. We have 37 units, which exceeds their requirements a little bit. So for those of you not already in the field, what this slide is showing you is what you might expect to do as a drug and alcohol counselor. You're going to do a lot of group facilitation and some individual counseling. That's a big part of it. I need to move this one up higher because unfortunately now you're going to be doing a lot of documentation too. So I probably should put it first. Documentation and then counseling. Clearly you're going to be helping people through a recovery process, setting up a relapse prevention, ongoing treatment. You'll be doing a lot of education, referrals, case management is a big part of it, and then depending on where you work, you might be doing some urinalysis collecting. But not necessarily. I've been doing this since 2004, and I think I've only collected UAs 3 times. We'll talk about employment. These are some of our former graduates that we're proud of. These are just some of the places that our students have gained employment. Now the next slide is a very sophisticated graph that I'll break down and explain to you. And it's the employment growth rate for drug counselors. Not funny. So I started here as the program coordinator in 2013, and back then when I would teach the internship class, I would have to call treatment programs and ask them to take our students. Like, hey, I got this great student, I think you'd love to have him as an intern, blah, blah, blah. In the last 2 years, because of changes with Medi-Cal, and Medi-Cal now paying for residential drug treatment, the demand for drug counselors is through the roof. So it's not an exaggeration to say I get an email or a phone call weekly from treatment programs asking me to send them people. And so the jobs are out there, which is sad because addiction is a huge problem in America. In one of our classes we looked, and only about 10% of the people who need substance abuse treatment get it. So the demand is high, people getting it is low, the job growth is through the roof, and as a result, the pay has also gone up. So when I first started in 2013, entry level was whatever minimum wage was, or about $11 an hour. So when I give this orientation, I would say, you're not going to get rich and all that kind of stuff. Now, because the demand is so high, we have students starting as a student at $18 an hour. We have a student working in Vista who graduated last year making $25 an hour. So the pay has gone up too. Any questions about the pay? Still disappointed? No? I said the video, so no one wants to talk now. It's okay. We're kind of testing too. I may not use it.
Well, I have a question with regards to the internship.
Yes.
Backing up a little bit. When, during the program, when are we allowed to start the internship? Do we have to be actively enrolled in directed field studies 298 or 299 in order to become an intern?
That's a great question. I have a whole section on that, so can I, yeah.
Absolutely, sir.
But that is great, and that's, a lot of people want to know that. That is probably the primary question. Any thoughts about the pay? If you become a director or a supervisor or manager or something like that, you know, the pay goes much higher. But at that point, you're gonna have to be supervising people.
So if you already have a degree, but you get your certification, does that help as far as with the pay grade as well?
Generally speaking, the more advanced degree you have, the higher you're gonna get paid. This slide basically says the same thing about the pay. When we get to the internship, I'll show you, well, let me talk about it now. So on that handout I gave you, there's 11 courses required to get the certificate and to become certified. You can just do those 11 courses and become certified, or you can also get your associate's degree with an additional 60 units in general education. The scope of practice, so let's say you had your bachelor's in psychology, you really can't do any more than somebody who just took these 11 courses. So generally, you're not going to be paid significantly higher, but usually institutions will reward you for a more advanced degree. But it's not going to be significant unless you continue on, like marriage family therapist, licensed clinical social worker, psychologist, something like that. Then the pay is going to increase dramatically. And those are great goals. This is a great transition to any of those licensed degrees. But most places, like, you know, if you have the certificate and then you got your associates, they give you a pay increase. And then you continued on in school and got your bachelor's, they give you a pay increase. But really, you can't do any more than somebody with just the 11 courses.
Kurt telling on that. I know different schools, state schools, community colleges are, they're kind of more integrating nowadays. But a lot of these AODS studies, would they transfer over for an associate's or a bachelor's as well?
So all, well, you'd have to check with that institution, but all of the AODS courses are transferable to a Cal State and none to a university.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then you'd have to ask them, but is a degree applicable? You know what I mean? Like, would they really apply it towards the degree? But they're all transferable. Like, if you want to go to Cal State San Marcos,
Okay.
it would count.
Good to know.
But they still may say, well, we don't care about introduction to chemical dependency counseling to get your psychology degree. So I would ask them. How many of you are already Palomar students? Okay, so most everybody. If you're not, what you want to do is just complete an application online, or you can go to the Student Services Center and somebody will help you apply and become a student. If you're interested in the associates, I want you to meet with an academic counselor and student services to talk about English, math, and history and all that. I'm not going to be the one to talk to. These 11 courses, though, I would encourage you to talk to me because I'm a little more versed on that than they are. Most of our classes are offered every semester, but not all of them. So sometimes, occasionally, they'll recommend you take an AODS class this semester that it's not offered, and that could really throw you off. So, you know, you should visit with me about those. So most of you are already students, but for those of you who are not, this is the general fee you can expect to pay for a 3-unit course. There's a lot of financial aid available. You're going to do the FAFSA online and then talk to our financial aid department and see what you're eligible for. But if you had to pay the full fee, it's about $160 for a 3-unit class. The parking is optional, but you know, if you're going to park here, you'll get a ticket if you don't have a parking permit. So, but if you're taking the Sprinter or carpooling or something, you don't have to get that. You do need the health fee and the student center fee. I'm going to be really embarrassed. I should finds out to video recording. And then we have a few scholarships available for students who've identified as alcohol and other drug studies that are not available just to all students. And one of them is the Robert Sheffy Memorial. He was a AODS student that stayed on like Jimmy and became really ingrained, and he unfortunately passed away from cancer, and the program coordinator before me set up this scholarship in his honor. So you're gonna go to the financial aid page, the scholarships, you fill out an application, and it automatically enrolls you for scholarships. I would encourage you to do it. I love to go to scholarships night. They give away hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's lots of scholarships available. There are a lot that go unclaimed. So I would encourage you to try. This one, P.D. Roman, was a student here at Palomar that unfortunately overdosed and died as a result of heroin abuse. And so the AODS Club set up a scholarship in his honor. Our goal is $500 for 2 students a year. And last year, because of our fundraising, we were able to do $2,000. So, I mean, that's not guaranteed. It's all based on our fundraising, but we were able to do that. And then, as I mentioned, Jimmy is a student mentor, and he helps out in classes. I think I got it. Helps you understand that this is what this instructor's looking for, this is how you would do that assignment, and so on. And we're lucky to have him. So like I said, it is good for you to meet with me one-on-one to look at your education plan to make sure you're on track. So for example, family counseling on this campus is only taught in the fall. So if you think, oh great, I'll take it in the spring and everything will work out great, you know, you'll get a little messed up because you're gonna have to wait till the fall then. So just to make sure that you're right on track. Okay, now let's get into it. So the handouts you have are these 11 core courses. So to start answering your question there are 2 internship courses required. There are prerequisites. So for right now, you can take as your initial internship course either 140 or 298. It's either or. For both of those, we really set up a prerequisite of AODS 250 and 255. So group leadership and facilitation and law and ethics. And the reason for that is because when you start your internship, some places will expect that you're ready to go. So you show up your first day, they'll show you around and then say, and you're taking the next group. That's their expectation. So if you have not been a group participant yourself, if you're not taking the class, it could be a bad experience for you, it could be a bad experience for the clients. So we do have that as a prerequisite. And then law and ethics, if you're not familiar with the field, generally people going into this are nice people, they want to be helpful, but you need to know like, okay, what's a boundary for a counselor? And you know, you may just think you're being nice, but you know, really you're doing a boundary crossing. Like if a client said, hey, I'm broke, can you loan me $20? You know, and you think, oh yeah, sure, I can help you out. You know, that would generally be frowned upon. So that's why we have those as prerequisites to get into the internship classes. But I'll talk about whether you really have to do that to be an intern or not in just a minute. So 140 or 298 prior to 299, which is the final field experience class. Oh, and I need to remember this. So I put these in numerical order just because I thought it looked good and made sense, but other than the prerequisites, you don't have to take them in that order. So you don't have to start with 150, 155, 160 and work through it like that. You can take them in any order, other than the courses that have prerequisites. The school likes us to set up a education plan, so this is just a suggested, if you were to finish in 2 years. You know, this was a suggestion. You do not have to follow that. So I talked to a lot of people who are coming back to college for the first time in a long time or never been to college, and they ask me, well, how many classes should I start with? And it varies, right? Because Some people are working 2 jobs, they have a spouse and kids, and, you know, maybe they can only start with 1 class. Other people are in a different position, and they can start with 3 or 4 classes. So it's another good time for me to sit with you one-on-one and talk and see what would be appropriate for you. Any questions so far? We're still getting to the rest of the internship piece. Doing a good job. So we have to report to the state chancellor's office what we call student learning outcomes, what students who finish the certificate will know and be able to do. These are just some of them I put up there. You're going to understand and be able to classify psychoactive drugs. You're going to understand legal and ethical practice, social issues, how to work with diversity. And then when we get into the internship class, we work on counseling skills, where we practice that. You practice group leadership in the group class, so you're really practicing counseling skills, so that when you're done with these 11 classes, you are ready to go into the field. You don't have to wait till you're done with the classes, but for sure when you're done, you're ready to go in the field. So, all right, now let's start talking about education and then moving to Latan to answer your question. Any course that you've taken at another accredited institution that's one of those 11 and you passed with a C or better, you don't have to repeat. So if you took Intro to Psych at Miracosta and got a good grade, you don't have to take it again. You might have to fill out a form if it's not clear cut, because they called it something like general psychology. If it's not clear cut, then you may have to get your transcript. Well, you'd have to get your transcripts no matter what, but you might have to get like a syllabus or course outline of record for our psychology department to say, yes, these courses are equivalent. But some of them are straight across. Intro to Sociology, it's accepted. I added this in here because if you decide to get certified through CCAP, you have to have your high school diploma. So what was throwing people off is you don't need your GED or high school diploma to come to Palomar and to get the certificate, but to be a state certified counselor, you either need your high school diploma or a GED. So I just want to put that out there so that you don't get all finished and then think I'm done and, oh, I never got my GED. Our program meets all the requirements for state certification, but once you're finished, it doesn't make you state certified. You'll get a certificate from Palomar, and you are set up to become state certified, but there's a few more steps that have to happen, which we'll look at in a minute. And then I put this slide up because the certifying agencies, for some reason, talk in education hours, which of course no college or university uses. We all use units, right? So